Caitlin O'Reilly is 12, and at 9:20 on Friday night, she became the youngest female swimmer ever to swim Cook Strait. She was back home in Auckland today, and her mum brought her into the studio along with her swim coach, John Campbell, who also swam Cook Strait when he was 13 and held the record for the youngest New Zealander until Caitlin pipped him on Friday. It's an extraordinary feat. The sea through the strait is fast-moving, pretty cold even in summer, and demands strength and enormous willpower. I asked 12-year-old Caitlin, who was also doing her first ever studio interview, why she wanted to swim it.
I wanted to challenge myself. It was an amazing goal that I could complete.
And when did you decide that you wanted to swim Cook Strait?
About 10 months ago.
And your coach, who was sitting proudly beside you here, John, he did it, but he was the ripe old age of 13, right, when he did it? An old man, whereas you were 12. Or you still are 12. And so how did you train for it?
Just lots of long-distance trainings and lots of training.
And so do you train in the pool or the ocean or both?
Both.
And what sort of distances have you been swimming?
40k a week.
40k a week. And what time in the morning do you get up to swim 40k a week?
5:15.
5:15. And your mum, your mum is through there looking at us with your little sis. And does she get up? Does she drive you to the pool or wherever you're swimming?
Yeah.
So this is a real family effort, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And John, so you swam Cook Strait when you were 13?
Yep.
And when Caitlin came to you and said, I want to do it too, what did you say?
Oh, I was pumped. Absolutely pumped. I love it when sort of my swimmers set themselves goals, especially when they're goals that beat my previous ones. So I'm all supportive of that.
Not only did Caitlin beat you in terms of age, she beat you in terms of time.
Exactly right. It was an unbelievable swim watching it. It's really hard to explain how impressive it was, especially as things start to get a little bit harder, sort of just gritting your teeth and getting through it. I mean, I was watching it and just going, I wouldn't want to hop in at all.
So you were in the boat alongside?
Yeah, I was in the IRB next to her.
And are there times when you hit tides or, you're really swimming hard and making very little progress?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the start, she was covering a lot of distance. It was about 4.5k an hour, so she was going pretty quick. In the middle there, as the tides start to change, you fight a little bit, so it can drop back to sort of 3k. So you got to sort of fight with it a little bit. You can be told that you're at halfway in, say, 3 hours, and the next half could take 5 to 6, depending on how the tides change. So it's nuts.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. What are you thinking about as you're swimming, Caitlin?
Nothing. I'm just zoned out, focusing on getting to the other side.
And are there times when you realise it's becoming quite hard and you're not making the same distance you had been making, where you think, I'm not sure I can keep this up? Or were you just so determined to make it that you were never going to give it up?
I was determined I wasn't going to give up.
Now, Wellington hasn't had the greatest summer, and bless it. And I say that as a Wellingtonian. And so what was the water like?
It was all right, but towards the end it got cold.
And you were swimming in a wetsuit, presumably?
No, I was just in my normal togs.
You mad bugger. So you swum Cook Strait in your normal togs?
Yep.
And how long were you in the water for?
7 hours and 19 minutes.
Which is actually a really good time, isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah. So actually that compares with adult swimmers, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think I was talking to Phil Rush on the boat, and he said your average swim's sort of 8.5 to 9 hours, so she's well below that. So she had a really good effort for the swim. So
what is it about Cook Strait? Why does this have such an important part in the swimming? I remember Meta McKenzie, swimming. I remember, this is a legendary swim, isn't it? Is it because the water is so hard?
That's the thing. I think, even though people sort of study the tides and you can get an idea on what's going to happen, often things don't go to the way that they're planned. So a lot of people use swimming Lake Taupo as prep, which is a 42-kilometre swim, so it's nearly double the distance. Obviously, meaning that Cook Strait is a tough swim. But Caitlin was fortunate enough not to do the Lake Taupo beforehand as a prep, because that would have been a pretty tiring one as well. So, yeah.
I'm not having a go at my own children, who I love to the sky and back and who I'm very proud of, but I think everyone who's in the possession of a 12 or 13-year-old in their family home, or who has had one, or who has been one, will admire your extraordinary tenacity. I mean, that is a hell of a thing to do, to swim for over 7 hours in that water. And I wonder what you're setting your mind on now. I mean, clearly, if you decide to accomplish something, you do. So what do you dream of?
One day, hopefully, to maybe represent New Zealand in the Olympic Games, maybe.
I like it.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. This is a proud coach. Because you are remarkable, because not only can you swim long distances, right, you've won some sprint events, like 100, you've won 100-metre races, haven't you?
Yeah, last year I won the 100 fly at a national event.
So you won the 100 fly at a national event, and you can swim Cook Strait. So have you got a preference for short distance fast swimming or long distance slow swimming?
Long distance.
And why is that?
I just enjoy it more than shorter distances.
Caitlin O'Reilly, watch that name.